All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How you doing? Hello to everyone on Rockfin, on YouTube, on Callin, and got a couple of tips after the show on Rockfin yesterday. So, thank you. Tippers got something from Steph C, who said, "Thanks for keeping us updated. Have a great birthday." Ed G also tipped me. He said, "Happy birthday, Kevin. Appreciate your even keel and easy wisdom." Thank you, Ed G. All right. Well, let's go gadget. I actually didn't had a bit of a topsy-turvy morning. So I didn't really arrange things the way I wanted to arrange them the way I usually do. But let's see if we can make sense of this. We will do it. Starting the show with this, I thought this was funny because it has a lot of layers to it, honestly, from Luke Rudowski, who is, squarely in the climate denial camp. Climate change denial camp. And there's a meme that says, "The future Klaus Schwab and Greta Thunberg want for you." And it's people sitting around as cave people. But the funny thing about this is that, I don't know, people who are climate aware, people who are in the discussion around climate change are actually probably wouldn't be upset about the caveman thing. And it's just also, this is just super just a lowbrow take. That's not, I don't think necessarily that's what they want for you, or that's what, they're branding net zero. Obviously, we know net zero is a joke as a goal in the, current capitalist global capital paradigm, right? Like, the goal of net zero is like somehow we're going to keep civilization as we know it going, but with zero emissions. Ha ha. That's just not, that's laughable, right? So if we did get to net zero emissions, it just wouldn't be possible with the current system we have. It's just not possible. So if we went to net zero, a lot of things, people would be living in a very different way. But a lot of people think that we need to go backwards anyways, away from a super hyper technology driven society and do it a little simpler. Maybe with less people. How's that for a simple answer? Now, I don't think that Klaus Schwab, I don't think his vision for the future is anything grand or great, or is it going to help the planet on any level. Greta Thunberg, I think, is probably closer to the mark, but she's been made into this pariah by a particular group of people who don't understand climate change, don't understand what she's saying, don't understand what she's about, don't understand anything about anything. So it's, their context on it is not even really applicable, because it's just in the dumb bin of the trash can. Anyways, I just thought this was an interesting conversation point. This particular meme. I don't know. Simple equation to destroying the planet less. Yeah. Back away from the hyper technology driven civilization we live in. Do it with a lot less people. And no, that doesn't mean who are you going to kill first. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if, as a community, if people said, hey, I think, I see that we're destroying the planet with all of our overconsumption, and that part of the equation of the overconsumption is not the things that we are consuming; it is the amount of people consuming the things. So maybe if we bring down the amount of people in an orderly, compassionate fashion, right? That maybe we could lessen the stresses on the earth. That's all. It's very simple. In one word, degrowth, right? Backing away from the whole growth paradigm. More people, more things, more stuff, more doing, more making, more consuming, more. How about a little less? How about it? We enter a little less into the conversation. But Peter Dines. Without agriculture based on and sustained by fossil fuels supporting a world food program, we would probably have already witnessed the first major climate change-induced mass starvation event. Yeah, for sure. Ooh, I just saw this. I'm going to read this later. Probably won't read this now. But quick rundown. Without ammonia, there would be no inorganic fertilizers, and nearly half the world would go hungry. There you go. But that's a short-term situation, right? That is not a long-term. We are going to be out of the ability to grow food at the scale that we grow it for various reasons. Many reasons are involved in that. So why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we having that conversation? Because if you talk about it, you're a crazy anti-human eugenicist Malthusian nutbag who loves Klaus Schwab. And that, again, will fall that under dumbass take because you can't have a grown-up adult conversation about it. About the reality of where we're at on the planet. Let's keep going. Poppy posted many interesting things today. Thank you, Poppy. If consumption increases at the rate it is, 2/3 of the world population will have shortages by 2025. That's pretty soon. The world's wetlands have been reduced by more than half. The 1,890 grain barges to New Orleans since September 1st, 2022 is 39% less than a 5-year average, the 5-year average. That's almost half the grain barges are not delivering grain. Why? Because I just talked about this. The Mississippi River is extremely low, as well as other rivers. And, none of these big brain journalists are even talking about this. They're leaving out a whole part of the equation. How can you actually solve a math equation or paint a picture? Well, I'm going to leave out this whole color over here out of my palette and paint that. I mean, I'm sure you can do it, but nope, I'm not going to use any reds. That's it. But if you're trying to paint a realistic picture, something that looks like the world, you're going to have a hard time doing that without a whole color out of your palette. So if you're trying to tell people the truth or tell people the story of what's going on in the world and you leave a whole story out of it, then something's going to look a little off. Hold on. Let's give me 1 second, guys. All right. What's up, Rockfin people? How you feeling? How you doing? How you doing? All right. YouTube people, we're all here. I'm just checking to make sure that everybody can hear me. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, let's look at this a little bit about the Mississippi River. But we've already talked about this. Oh, crap. Why did I do that? Hold on. We're jumping to the story that I didn't want to. Hold on, guys. That's my fault. My bad. Where are we? Here we go. All right, we'll come back and get it. Mississippi River communities are threatened by the river's alarmingly low water level. Again, I'm just wondering why nobody is talking about this. Like, I haven't heard anybody talking about this except for the one dude on the one channel and this channel. Due to weeks of drought, the Mississippi River is so low in some places that barge transportation is restricted, just as crop harvesting is starting. In the upcoming days, Caruthersville, Missouri, Osceola, Arkansas, Arkansas may experience record low water levels along the Mississippi River. Why? Would you not want to talk about this? Our globe is 70% covered by water, therefore it is natural to assume that there would always be a bountiful supply of fresh water, which we need to drink, bathe with, and irrigate our farms, is exceedingly scarce as per the WWF. Fresh water makes up only 3% of the world's total water supply. 2/3 of that amount is hidden in frozen glaciers or inaccessible to humans in other ways. All right, anyways, I'm not going to go through all the information about fresh water. Anyways, basically, this is what's happening. We have a low water level, and it's severely limiting our ability to transport, grains, important things that people eat. Yeah. But don't worry, some people will tell you all of this is organized. I mean, some of it might be organized, but not all of it. This isn't organized. It's low water levels. Why? Because of drought. Why drought? Because we get less snowfall every year. Why less snowfall? Because it's warmer. We live in a warmer world. Or if we get the snowfall, it melts very quickly. Or we're depleting all the aquifers. Right? We're sucking all that water out because we need it. We need that water. We're just sucking it dry. In order to what? In order to grow food, in order to, do the things. Mine, make things. We're sucking it dry. Too many people doing too many things. That's just the short, simple math equation that you have to understand. Too many people doing too many things leads to environmental degradation or sucking up all the water supply. I drink your milkshake. Suck it all up. Oops, all of it's gone. What happened? Oh, that was intentional. They did that on purpose. All of it's gone. I don't know. Maybe it's gone because we sucked it all up. Did you ever think about that one? All right, let's keep going. Chilliwacked. Good name. Chilliwacked, like Seattle not behaving like Chilliwacked. This is a place called Chilliwacked, right? No, I don't thank you. Don't thank me. I'll thank you. September in Chilliwacked was the hottest and driest ever on record. Oh my God, a new record of hotness and dryness. I wonder what's going on. Weather patterns like the ongoing drought and heat have been so extreme of late. Chilliwacked's volunteer weather observer is using exclamation points to cap off sentences in his monthly weather reports. Following the hottest August and hottest month ever on record, September 22 was also the hottest on record! Exclamation point. Hold on. So Chilliwacked is near Seattle, I guess, right? A mean temperature of 22.65 C for September made it an amazing 4.75 degrees above normal. It was not only the hottest, but the driest as well. The only measurable rainfall occurred in light showers was on September 23rd, ending the all-time drought of 55 days. With a meager zero point 0.9 millimeters of rain, 99.2% below normal. So we'll call that real close to 100% below normal. It was the driest September in Chilliwack on record. Oh, record setting. Broke another record. But this always happens. It always happens, guys. It always happens. This is just regular normal stuff. In looking at the records over recent weeks, it was reoccurring and often amplified high pressure ridges throughout August and September, a trend never previously observed since Chilliwack records commenced in 1879. Again, that is not the climate always changing. That is a trend line. The average humidity and trend line being drier, hotter, worser. My English is good. The average humidity for September was unusually low at 59.6%. Anyways. So yeah, that's happening in Chilliwack. Put some Chilliwack on it. It'll taste better, I'm sure. Let's keep going. Phantomus sent me this. Serial tree killer. Did I ever read you? There was an article about a serial bird killer in Northern California. Did I read you all that article? That was a while ago. Yeah, there was a guy out just killing protected birds just because he thought he should be able to, it was just a thing. It was a serial bird killer. Let's keep going. Let's look at this. Serial tree killer. Oh, am I even going to be able to read this? I'm not going to read the whole thing anyways. There's a guy out chopping down trees. The Gresham lumberjack. They estimate that someone has cut down more than 700 trees near a popular walking trail for no apparent reason, creating dangers for hikers and setting back years of restoration efforts. There's a person out cutting down trees just because they think they should or they can. Anyways. It's a weird story. The trees being cut are generally getting bigger and bigger. It appears the person is focusing on cutting many trees all at once. So we have lulls between big cuttings as they try and find a new spot to hit. It's probably like a lumberjack, or even maybe it's a company. Maybe there's a company behind this. Somebody who's like, they just want to save these trees, these hippies, these environmental types, these Klaus Schwabians, these Greta Thunbergians. They just want to save these trees. We got to go cut them down because we're the men and we need to cut them down because that's what we do. Don't nobody tell us what to do. I'm sure that's probably what's going through the mind of said person or persons. That's what we do. We just cut down trees and nobody's going to tell us anything about it. Bah. The government. Bah. All right. Sometimes actually the government can do things that are correct. Sometimes that actually happens. I don't know. I don't know if it's, I'm not saying I love the government. I think, it's always good. They're always doing the great things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there could be nuance to it, right? Sometimes the government you can actually implement good regulations or good laws, and they can actually enforce those regulations and laws. Sometimes. Seems to happen less and less these days. Why? Because everybody's been told government bad, everything bad, government bad, and then you don't have any agency over what the government does, and you just let them do whatever they want, and they just get worse and worse, and then everybody stands around and goes like, "Oh my God, it's so bad." See how that works? But you got the smart people telling you what's going on. You got the smart people telling you what's going on. So listen to the smart people. They so smart. Here's another one from Poppy's. Pretty scary. Bizarre weather patterns are deterring farmers from planting crops because of a wet drought, quote unquote. I know, and I mean, this is probably something that people would, some people would well, a wet drought, that doesn't make any sense. It's stupid, man. That's dumb. Well, let's learn what a wet drought is. Farmers across eastern Australia brace for a wet drought as rain threatens major crop loss. Bizarre weather patterns are deterring farmers from planting crops. So the key here is the bizarre weather patterns, right? You have like deluges, right? You have these huge rainfall events that absolutely wipe out crops. Or you have these extreme whiplash seasonal weather changes, which is now a thing that happens like all the time, all over the place. Because it's called anybody. So you have these weather whiplashes going on, and plants don't know what to do, and they're like, "Oh, I thought it was time to grow. No, it's not time to grow. Oh, now it's time to freeze. Oh my God, I'm confused. Maybe I'll just stop doing my thing because now I'm confused." So that is happening to a lot of farmers. A lot of farmers are saying, we can't plant crops. We were losing half our crops. Now we can't ship it down the river because there's no water in the river. Oh my God, what is going on? Is anybody going to talk about this? Instead of saying, yeah, they're just making it happen. Farmers across eastern Australia. Anyways, bizarre weather patterns. I read that. Farmers across eastern Australia, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why they make you read the same thing 3 times before getting to any information. Anyways, a wet drought is the same as a drought. You don't get any crop because of weather reasons, but unfortunately it's because everything got too wet. So basically the crops get washed out. Hopefully we won't have too many farmers experiencing that just yet. Still recovering from the last bout of flooding, Grafton grazier Peter Lake said the bizarre weather patterns have already put many farmers off planting crops and forced others to sell livestock earlier than usual. People are resilient, but it is starting to look like we can't assume we're going to always be able to do what we have always done. This is a very important thing to understand that people are experiencing because of the weather. Because of the weather. The weather, you cannot count on the weather happening the way it usually happens anymore. Lake said that consistent flooding of his paddocks meant most of his cattle had to rely on expensive cattle feed. After last year's floods, he was forced to ration feeding and then eventually sell the majority of his cattle due to the ongoing cost of feed. 8 weeks ago, we bought a few more steers in the expectation that we'll be able to carry them off for at least a few months and sell them, even if we do happen to get another flood, but we're down to just a small number of steers. Anyways. Hosking said farmers, I don't know who Hosking is. Hosking said farmers were innovating in order to adapt to the new reality of extreme weather. He said farmers are now having to change everything from the way they grow crops to how they maintain ground cover or crop residue on top of the ground to protect the soil. Farmers in Australia are probably the world leaders in that sort of technology, and a growing number of them right across Australia have adapted to these practices and are using them to their advantage. However, there's still a difficult path ahead. On his own farm in Oakvale in northern Victoria, he's had to cease making hay, which provides a complementary and diverse source of income to his grazing operation. The weather doesn't lend itself to profitable haymaking, and certainly in the early parts of winter, we've seen a lot of plans to make hay already abandoned by growers in my area. Farmers are reporting this kind of stuff all over the world, not just Australia. All right, we'll keep going. Oh my gosh, I lost track of the time. It's time to take a break and check and see if I got any tips on Buy Me a Coffee. Did I get any tips on Buy Me a Coffee? I did not. Let's see if we're on Rockfin. Did I get any tips on Rockfin? I did not get any tips on Rockfin. Now would be a good time to take a call. If anybody wants to call in, I have about 5 minutes to take a call. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to reading some things for you, relaying information. All right, let's get back into it. We got more climate stuff, man. It just never ends these days. Sorry. I did not organize my show. Oh, this is a great story. I like this story. Hold on. I'm trying not to get too. Yeah, I really did a number on myself today. Okay. Here we go. We got a couple of things to talk about lined up here. This is pretty cool. This group of protesters disrupted war profiteer and Raytheon executive Megan O'Sullivan as she taught a class about climate change at Harvard University's Kennedy School. So, look, we don't need no stinking warmongers or globalists or corporations talking to us about climate change or telling us what we're going to do about climate change, because everything they're going to say about it is going to be wrong. So I am against Klaus Schwab and the WEFs and all the other, folks that think they're going to give us a corporate talk answer about climate change. So this is great. What's great about this is this delineates. So there's a sweet spot of of being in the right place around climate change, which is, we can just transfer everything business as usual. We can just transfer it over to like a low carbon life, technology, and everything's gonna be great. Okay, wrong answer. The corporations of the world and WEF and Klaus Schwab, they're all going to, make these climate pledges and live up to net zero and fix the climate by doing all. Wrong answer, right? People that sat on Raytheon's board are going to, come give you the answers around climate change at Harvard. Wrong answer. All these people need to be gone from the conversation. They need to leave the conversation. We don't need to listen to them talking about climate change. No, we need, something that was suggested by XR and or Roger Hallam, other people. We need like community driven answers. We need people, actual people to understand that there's, the problem, what the problem is, and then say, hey, we think the answer is less corporations, less stuff, less things, selling us less things, less fossil fuels, less reliance on the grid, less reliance on supply chains, less reliance on global shipping, less reliance on airlines, all the things that make the corporations go, but we are going to give you the answers about the climate change. But no, you can't tell us that we're not going to do these things. Just like Jamie Dimon. What is it? He works for JP Morgan Chase. Is that right? Jamie Dimon was like, Rashida Tlaib is very illuminating moment, right? When Rashida Tlaib was like, are you guys going to tell us what your ESG plans are? Are you guys going to live up to your ESG commitments? And he was like, what are you talking about? No, no, that would be bad for, business, and it'd be bad for the world and bad for everybody. That's just bad. That's a bad idea. So, the very people that are, throwing this language around about ESG and whatever, sustainable business and practices and all that stuff. They don't actually believe in any of that. They don't care about that. It's just a marketing gimmick, and it's cover for continuing to destroy the planet. So that's why these people need to leave the conversation. They need to be roundly shunned and ignored when they open their mouths. When fossil fuel companies tell you, we're doing great things you need to say, shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of my face. We don't need your fucking shit. Get out of here. And actually a really good way to do that, a better way than just cursing at a screen like I'm doing, a better way to do that is to stop using their stuff. Just stop doing it as much as you possibly can. If there's a way you can do it, just stop using their stuff so that they're like, hey, nobody's buying our stuff anymore. This is, hey guys, we told you we were going to be, no, you're not sustainable. No, we don't believe it. No, we just don't need it. Thanks. But let them impale themselves on their own petards. Yeah. Anyways, let's look at this because I see you North. I'll take a call in a moment. I just want to talk about this a little bit. So we just disrupted war profiteer and Raytheon executive Megan O'Sullivan as she taught a class about climate change at Harvard University. Let's see if I can. Oh, I guess I can get sound on this.
Megan O'Sullivan, you can't hide. We can see your war crimes. Megan O'Sullivan, you can't hide. We can see your war crimes. When missiles fly, people die, and O'Sullivan's profits multiply. When missiles fly, people die, and O'Sullivan's profits multiply. When missiles fly, people die, and O'Sullivan's profits multiply. I was actually very happy to talk to you. When missiles fly, people die. O'Sullivan's profits multiply. Missiles fly, people die. O'Sullivan's profits multiply. When missiles fly, people die. O'Sullivan's profits multiply. When missiles fly, people die. O'Sullivan's profits multiply. In addition to her position as a professor at Harvard Kennedy School, Megan O'Sullivan serves on the board of directors of Raytheon, the world's second largest weapons developer. Moreover, from 2006 to 2007, Megan O'Sullivan served under President George W. Bush as Deputy National Security Advisor for Iraq and Afghanistan, guiding the Bush administration's invasions and occupations of Iraq and Afghanistan. Megan O'Sullivan was on the ground to oversee the Bush administration's troop surge, in which 20,000 new occupying soldiers came into Iraq. As a former member of Raytheon, and as one of the key architects of the barbaric invasion of Iraq, Megan O'Sullivan has the blood of hundreds of thousands on her hands. She directs a weapons company while teaching public policy. She directs a weapons company while teaching public policy. She directs a weapons company while teaching public policy. She directs a weapons company while teaching public policy. She directs a weapons company while teaching public policy.
All right, I'll end it there. That's beautiful. That's great. These people need to be called out. They just took over a classroom basically, and then she left the classroom, and they followed her down the hallway. Megan O'Sullivan is on the board of directors at Raytheon, the second largest military contractor in the world. Absolutely, she should be called out and just should not actually have a platform to speak on. Period. And that should be sorry. And also was an architect for the invasion and occupation of Iraq, a war that killed, of course, if women were in charge, they'd do the good things, wouldn't they? No, not so much. Not if they're just greedy, corrupt people, just people, right? Because people are greedy and corrupt, and women can be greedy and corrupt too. All right. Also was an architect for the invasion of occupation of Iraq, a war that killed hundreds of thousands of people. In 2007, the Washington Post said that O'Sullivan has been at the heart of the most important project of the Bush presidency, the invasion, occupation, and continuing war in Iraq, etc. Anyway, she's teaching a class about climate change. Someone that profits from war and climate chaos should not be allowed to teach a class like this. That is the point of this really wonderful point that gets to the proper heart of the matter, which is, Understanding that climate change is an actual thing that's going on, and getting in the way of the people who made climate change happen continuing to control policy on climate change, or even discuss, what they think are the good answers to climate change, right? They are the wrong people with the wrong answers around climate change. U.S. military is also one of the largest consumer of fossil fuels, but is exempt from international climate change negotiations, blah, 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 blah. Harvard and the Kennedy School have a long history of giving platforms to warmongers, imperialists, and Zionists. Yeah. The school is also a main recruiting ground for the CIA, NSA, and FBI, etc., etc. Join our campaign to shut down Raytheon and the military-industrial complex by signing this pledge to take action. Yeah, this is really great stuff. And the entire thread is people like going, heck yeah, way to go. Way to go. Hope I didn't say too much. Hope I didn't go too off for YouTube, but whatever. Maybe not. Anyways, that's a great thread. That's a great post, and I'm really happy to see that. More from, here's another post from Poppy Davis. Seattle not behaving at all like Seattle. Seattle to stay smoky. Amid record heat. Oh, I can't read this. Darn it. Nah. Oh, unblock ads? No, I don't know. Whatever. I'll just read the thread. Forecasters are looking at changes in the weather this week that could relieve smoke in Seattle. But they have, record heat and low rainfall, just like Chilliwacked, right? Moving on to this from Jim Baird. October 4th, Climate Change and Food Roundup. New analysis finds climate change impacts on food security have likely been underestimated. Bad news for pollinators, which fertilize 3/4 of crops produced globally, and are one of the elements not adequately accounted for in most models. Of climate impacts on food, insects found to be particularly vulnerable to climate change and heat extremes. Climate change intensifies typhoons, hurricanes, having significant impacts on farmers in the Philippines, Canada, Puerto Rico, Florida, and the Dominican Republic. The world is heading toward the tightest grain inventories in years, despite the resumption of exports from Ukraine, as the shipments are too few and harvests from other major crop producers are smaller than initially expected. New study finds climate change may outpace current wheat breeding yield improvements in North America. Major grains aside, fruit and vegetables increasingly impacted by extremes. What does this mean for health? Dates in Gaza, tropical fruits in Spain, blueberries in Maine, etc. India hit variously by heat and water shortages, and on the other hand, excessive rain ruining crops at harvest with the threat of more excessive rain. Bangladesh, etc. China, USA, Hungary, Lebanon, Korea, West and Central Africa, etc. The world is being hit by waves of extreme weather, which are going to affect crops. And together with, some of the very silly things being done by some of the controlling entities on the planet, right? They're also putting the squeeze on people economically. Taken all together, a lot of people think this is leading towards an economic collapse in which they'll put everybody onto central bank digital currencies and then control the heck out of you. But that doesn't mean they're going to stop. They don't want people to stop buying and doing and producing and creating and consuming. No. They don't want people to stop that. It means they just want to control that way more. As it gets harder to, grow things, do anything, right? It's going to get really hard for people to live their lives. All right, I'm going to jump off of YouTube, I think, because I think I'm getting into, I don't know where I'm getting into. As I said, I'm a little disorganized on this particular show. Let's see. Well, we'll cover a couple of more climate change things, and then I'll jump off YouTube, but we only have a few minutes left. Poppy Davis, birds dying in Australian heat, right? As it warms above their body temp, 38°C. They try to cool off by moving to the ground, but then food is more scarce. I mean, that's pretty much what you need to know, right? I mean, birds are dying from a change in the temperature. What could be happening? I don't know. This is Nikas Haltsuk territory. All of these salmon went into a creek. The creek dried up because of no rain so far this fall, and just died. Sad scene. So all these salmon went up a river. The river didn't have enough water, or the dried up, and they all died. And obviously, climate change impacting salmon runs and all kinds of fish and fisheries around the world. That is happening. That's an actual thing that's happening. Some people are paying attention. Others are not. All right. YouTubes, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm going to continue the show on Rockfin. You can catch the last 15 minutes of the show on Rockfin. See you all tomorrow.